We're here at 6th Street Antique Mall in Amarillo, Texas, and rumor has it that there have been some paranormal activities around here. So we're going to walk around and kind of give you a tour and talk a little bit about them.
Okay, honey. I was telling you earlier, this booth over here has been at different times poltergeist activity, and of course they're really not bad. I used to have a row of glass up there and a metal candle holder, and on more than one occasion, probably at least two, I would come in and that candle holder would have been picked up and set down straight on the floor, just like somebody picked this up and set it down. None of the glass in front of it was disturbed, nothing was taken, nothing. Usually when they show up like that, they're not really doing anything mean or malicious, in my opinion. And I just usually look around and go, okay guys, I'm not afraid of you, knock it off, you know, don't tear. I appreciate that you didn't tear anything up. And you know, and there's been different times where all of a sudden after I've locked up at night, I come back in the next morning, there'll be something sitting in the middle of this floor away from all shelves, just sitting there, not broken, not on its side, just placed. And so I don't know. Now, in this little doorway here, I never ever believed in orbs like they were saying on the TV and stuff. I mean, they'll do that little pin light, which I know is fake because it's just a little pin light. And they, one day I was watching my cameras because there was this whole group of people that came in and just sort of swarmed in and swarmed off, and they all were standing right over here in this doorway here, and on my camera all of a sudden there's a huge white ball just going this way and that way, just like it was bombarding them,
Like bouncing all around.
Bouncing all over them. And it was like, okay, I could tell immediately whoever they were, whatever the energy was not happy with these people. And it stuck around for about a week, and then it finally just kept dimming out until it was gone. And I've never seen it again, although the whole week that it was around, I had lots of people come behind my counter and watch the camera, because that was the only way you could see it was on the camera. And you know, and I would come back here and talk to him occasionally, and or it, I'm not even sure what it was. It was just a ball of energy. And I just tell them that they were gone. And I haven't seen that one back again. And I've had some people from back when this was a beauty school that told me that their mother had been was learning beautician here, and that she was on this side of the building and became so upset that she ran out of here one day and would never come back because she said it was evil. I've never had any evil feelings in here, and I've had evil around me all my life, so I know the feeling, and there's never been anything malicious or evil back here to me at all. But
and she never came back.
That woman never came back, from what her kids told me. And I think it's kind of sad, but you know, that was her experience. That was not good.
Yeah.
You know, and the building was built in the 20s and has seen an awful lot.
Being right here, we're right here on 6th Street in Amarillo, which is the historic Route 66, and there's quite a few antique shops and restaurants and bars and pawn shops, tattoo parlors, just anything you can pretty much imagine, and being in like a historic part of town. And you said you had some others. That's some.
Yeah. Let me go ahead and on our way back around to the other side. If you're through on this side, we'll go over to the other side, and I'll flip these switches.
Sure. Yeah.
And let everybody go to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a ghost tour that comes up and down the street periodically. A tour group that does ghost things, especially around October. They say that this is one of their favorite stops because they can look through the windows and see activity.
Wow.
And they said they wished I'd turn out more lights at night, but I'm like, well,
yeah, you got security and
some
stuff.
of the activity I don't particularly want to turn out.
Right. That's understandable.
And and that one, what do you call it? Orb that I saw. I don't know. I think that it was attracted to those people specifically. Because it was so gone after that. We have another orb. He's in the upstairs back. And he shows up for a while, and then he'll stick around for a week or two, and then he'll go away. And I don't know what his deal is either.
And I remember you saying you had some people come in and say that they had felt things or seen things also. Some of them you hadn't, some of them you kind of doubted. And do you get that very often?
Actually, more than you would think. And I think a lot of them are trying to, when I say I don't totally believe some of the things they're saying, is that I think with all of the hype on all the different TV shows and everything about paranormal activity, that they want to cash into it and they want to be with the end stuff, and it's not. Yeah. So I sometimes think that they so desperately want to be part of it that they talk themselves into believing it. And there's things that they'll tell me, and but by the time a third person tells me exactly the same thing, whether I felt it or not, then I'm like, okay, there must be something to it. And then I start looking for it. And I have found one of the things and banished it from here. And I don't know why it was here to begin with, but it was. And I don't, and I guess by the time one of my contractors that was doing some work for me came running downstairs, who had never mentioned a thing about having any paranormal experiences ever in his life, came running down and said that somebody had tried to throw him off the ladder.
That's pretty serious.
Okay, so maybe there is something up there.
Yeah, that would be very unnerving for anyone, I think, and dangerous for workers.
Well, fortunately, he was just on a step stool. It was only 2 steps, but
oh well, yeah.
Still could be. I mean, if you lost your balance and fell off, I've fallen off several ladders.
Yeah, you said you banished some of them. What does that entail for you?
I just went up there and told them to knock it off, and that they weren't welcome around here, that they needed to leave and go back wherever they came from, and that we weren't going to put up with it.
And that did it.
Yeah. I had a girl that once worked for me who I had never ever even expressed to her any of my feelings. I've always been very, very private about what I know and don't know about the spiritual worlds, or any of my experiences with them, because of the way I was raised. But this girl, one day she worked at my other store, and she come down and she said, I brought my sage and everything with me, and I cleansed the other store. I now want to cleanse this store for you. And I just, at the moment I was like, what are you talking about? And so she went around with the sage, which, by the way, will never happen again. That stuff gave me a headache for 4 days. And I didn't even smell much of it, but I was just enough of it that where it hurt my head immediately.
Kind of reaction or something.
And but she was real sweet about it. She ended up quitting because she could not handle the presence that she was feeling. But I never felt what she was feeling, and I didn't. So it may have been something that was just connected to her, and her cleansing of it didn't affect any of my spirits. They were still here,
Still stayed.
and they were still just doing exactly what they do, because most all of them are not mean or malevolent. They're just doing their jobs. Like I said, this store has been here for almost 100 years now, and there's been a lot of things that it's been, and these people were here with their jobs.
I remember you said something about one that was working on some machinery. He said that he felt unhappy.
Yeah, that's the man from Depression. He lost everything in the Depression and the stock market. He lost his jobs or his businesses, and the only job he could find was when the main part of the store was a dry cleaners.
You want to show
Sure.
me where that kind of went? Let's see.
Sure. Well, it wasn't a dry cleaners, it was a commercial cleaners. I'm sorry, I did that wrong. It's a commercial cleaners, not a dry cleaners.
Okay.
Back here. This is actually 2 buildings that have been this wall came out in 1927. And this was a furniture store up here for ages. And then it became, in the 30s, it became the commercial cleaners. And back here in what I now call the apartment, this was all dirt floor in here. And back across here was all big commercial machines. And the machine was right there.
Kind of where the mirror and the little...
And he's been extremely unhappy. And I'm not the only one that knows he's there. And sometimes people just are real uncomfortable in here and they just leave. And I've tried to talk to him and tell him that things have changed and that it's okay now, and his life is better if he'll just let go. But I don't know, I haven't felt him or seen him in a while, so maybe he finally got put to rest. But
is there ever any damage, things that fall off by themselves that you feel like maybe he might have something to do with? Or
no, actually, it's real hard to attribute anything falling off walls or anything to any of my spirits, except for those stupid poltergeists that show up once in a while. Most things that fall off are because of all the loud radios in the cars and the motorcycles on the street going by, and they vibrate so much and it shakes my building.
Yeah, there's a lot of motorcycles that come down here.
Oh, honey, it's majority of it is the cars.
Oh, okay.
With the super loud bass.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that would do that.
And I'm like, oh, I'm going to go out there and pull your radios right out.
Right.
Now, and like I said, this apartment area wasn't added until 85. That wall was put in, and that wall, the ceiling was dropped, and an upstairs was done. Now, upstairs is where I had to banish the character. And all of this was done in 1985, and so I don't know why there's anything upstairs, but there is.
So upstairs being, I'll kind of let you, we'll go up the stairs here.
This is the upstairs area.
Her.
Now, this area is where I get the other orb. Periodically, he'll start over there, and he'll fly across, and then he'll fly this way, and go through that wall, and then come back and go through that wall, and he'll just fly around here. He's been back a few times. He lasts about a week, maybe 2 weeks. And at first he's a big old orb, and then he just starts dimming down to nothing.
How often does that happen?
There's no rhyme or reason. Just every now and then I'll be watching the cameras, and suddenly there he is.
Yeah, you say it only shows up on the cameras.
Yeah, and there's no way it could be a reflection from anything outside, because
Right.
the windows on either ends of these buildings as an empty parking lot, and they don't reflect anything into here. And the way he comes through, he's just, and he doesn't necessarily do it when anybody's around up here. He just shows up.
Just at random, it seems like.
Yeah. Now the other one that I'm pretty sure I banished, predominantly likes to live in that room.
This one here?
Yeah. And I've had some people refer to him as a shadow figure in here. I guess that's a newer type term. And I have caught occasionally a small black something in the corner of my eye. Occasionally. But I've never gotten an evil feeling. But I've had several other people come to me and tell me that there's something evil in here. I had a contractor that was hanging a picture. He was on a little step stool. He had never spoken to me ever about paranormal anything. I wouldn't have even known he believed in paranormal. And he come running down the stairs, and he said, "Did you see that on the camera?" And I said, "Well, no, I wasn't watching you." And he said, "Something just threw me off that step stool." And I said, "Oh, sorry."
Maybe he didn't want any work being done. Maybe he liked it how it was.
Yeah, he was hanging that old picture over there.
The one by the lamp.
Mm-hmm. And
I'll kind of go over there and get a shot of it.
he
That picture.
I get a lot of people that come up here and act stupid and silly because I have mannequins up here.
Oh, yeah.
And they're, "Oh, the mannequins scare me." Well, mannequins are not scary.
Well, certainly
And
not compared.
Dress forms are definitely not scary.
Yeah, especially compared to some of the stuff that you have had going on.
You know, they are just, I mean, there's one child mannequin over there that's kind of ugly, but she can't help it.
Yeah, hardly frightening.
You know, but yeah, this area up here, all this area was added in 1985. This is originally the roof. Yeah. So, I don't know. I haven't had, the other two rooms really haven't had much ways of feeling of anything in there.
I noticed the air conditioner is running, so the silk scarves over there are kind of drifting in the wind. I just want to make sure everybody that watches this knows that.
Oh, yeah. Somebody must have moved them, because I've been seeing that on the camera all day today going, "What the heck?"
Yeah, one of them had fallen down. In fact, right when I came up here a while ago, it just fell down. Right when I got up the stairs, I looked and it fell down. I thought, But then I realized the air conditioner was blowing that direction.
Yeah, and the intake valve's right there too, so.
If you keep track of what times a year or if it's on a certain pattern, sounds like it's pretty much at random.
It's totally random. I mean, it's one of the very first persons that ever came in the building and came up to me and asked me about if I knew I had ghosts. By the way, I really don't appreciate that when I have a store full of people.
Yeah, that would be that's not very good for business, I would
because
think.
there are some people that just really still think you're crazy, and then there's the other people that are scared to death because of TV.
Yeah.
And and Stephen King books.
Right, yeah, a lot of those.
So, I'm gonna climb past you and fix these.
Sure.
Anyhow, she came up to me and told me, and then she was telling me about one of them that she was telling me about one ghost, and she kept saying, well, did you know about this one, that one, that, you know, and I'm like, yeah, I know about the spirits. I know about all the spirits that are here. I know why they're here and who they are.
And you're very familiar with it because
And-
you're around it a lot.
But then she told me that there was one, which I always forget about, that was standing on the balcony downstairs by my register, that he was hanging over the balcony staring at me. Really? Okay, I didn't know anything was up there on the balcony, but okay. And then she told me that he was smoking a pipe, and it dawned on me immediately that I had smelled that pipe earlier in the day, and I knew exactly who it was. It was my father. He periodically will show up and just, I guess, check on me, make sure everything's okay. And
Like a good father
kind of
would.
very comforting because I've always been extremely close to my father. And so it makes me feel good that he knew nothing. I didn't own this place when he was alive, and so he's never known about it. So for him to show up, no, it's because he knows exactly where I'm at.
Some people may not be familiar, you know, with this kind of thing, or if it happened to them. So if someone were to come to you and say, thus and thus happened to me, similar to what you've had, what would you tell them?
Well, it would depend on what context that they were relating it to me. If they were concerned or they needed to know how to deal with it, or they were worried about it, so it just depends on from what point they're coming.
I guess that I should
And-
probably clarify a little bit. Yeah, probably if they were frightened.
I would try and soothe them and comfort them and explain to them that 90% of the spirits is not like what you see on TV and on any of those stupid shows. Which, by the way, I've told Zack and Aaron to their faces that the show is not real. They were in here shopping. And they did not know about any spirits in this building. And could not feel any. And I'm like, oh, you guys are so fake. And but they're nice guys.
Yeah, you mean, yeah, the popular
They're
show,
actors.
yeah.
They're actors.
Yeah.
But they try to promote that all hauntings and all spiritual things are evil. They are not evil. There are some that are bad, and there are some that are demonic and not a spirit. There's a difference. Your spirit world, most of them are just trying to communicate to you, or they're trying to finish working out something that they left unfinished, or they felt they still needed to do. You know, like the guy downstairs that was here when it was a furniture store, and he's taking inventory. He was the first one I ever saw when I was in here. And I don't physically see him with my eyes, but I know he's there. And all he's doing is walking, and he's got a clipboard. And I know that he was here when it was a furniture store and something happened to him. He doesn't even acknowledge that he knows anyone else is even around. So he's just sort of a residual that keeps doing it because he's in a loop and he's lost. And he's not going to bother anybody. Most all of the spirits that I have in here do not bother anybody. Even the one that was bombarding those people.
Yeah, the orb kind of, yeah.
They were totally oblivious to it. And so he didn't do any good, but you know, and the one up here, he just likes to, I think, run around and see what's going on, you know.
Yeah, the one that's kind of in this room here.
In this room here, he just goes around and figures out what's going on. has a good time. You know, if you want to see where the one is that, you know, and you know, it's unusual. Sometimes they'll show themselves to you on the cameras that you won't see. And since I have cameras all over the store, some of them I only see on the cameras.
Do you ever like record those? Do you have recordings of some of the?
Well, the cameras are always recording, and I regret that the machine that those were recorded on, I went ahead and turned back in, and I didn't keep any recordings off of it. But I had lots of witnesses that came around behind the counter and saw them. Having witnesses seeing them on the cameras helped prove and validate me that I wasn't exactly crazy and making things up.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that stigma is still there for a lot of people, even despite, I guess I could say one beneficial thing that the TV shows and stuff do is they do try to destigmatize it, I would think.
Yeah, a little bit, some of them, yeah. Even Zack and Aaron, when they started, were trying to make it okay, but now they're into this other stuff.
So right through this little walkway here.
He comes over here, and he
right through here.
And he turns around, and he goes back.
He just paces back and forth.
I'm surprised he hasn't wore a hole in the carpet.
Yeah. So right over here is kind of where he stands and does his work with his clipboard by this other stairway.
Does his little clipboard and stuff. And that would have been before this mezzanine was ever put in or anything. That was when the furniture store was here. This
upper level
was not here.
Okay. Yeah, so that was added later.
Yeah, it was added in the 30s.
Okay. And this, you said this building was originally built, the ceiling tiles tell me what, about 1910 to about 100 years?
1924.
1924. Okay, so yeah, almost exactly.
All of these buildings down here were built for the coming of Route 66.
Oh, okay.
And
okay.
One thing a lot of people don't realize is that was still cowboy and Indian age.
Right.
And we also, at the same time, had a lot of people coming through here like Jesse James and Dillinger and a few of the other really big
Yeah, not everybody could afford a car either, yeah.
That's true. Well, horseback was quite popular still in the 20s.
Yeah. Bonnie and Clyde probably, I know.
They weren't far from here.
Yeah.
But I know that, I think it was Dillinger that was through here. He'd gotten hurt or he needed medical attention, and there was a house over here on Paladuro, just off of Route 66.
Street close by.
Yeah, it's like within a block. And years ago, my husband and I were looking at it to buy it, and the woman showed us the article from the newspaper about her sconces in her house. They had come from, I think it was Dillinger, because when he needed medical attention, he stayed with her, and when he went back to Chicago, he sent her these wall sconces.
Oh, wow.
And she was
fascinating.
real proud of those sconces.
I'm sure.
I was like, but you were harboring a criminal. People like that have been up and down the street, so there's been lots of nefarious things that have gone on. And I mean, in the 30s, when you had all the people that were out of work suddenly and out of businesses, and there was a lot of suicides, a lot of death, and there were still Wild West gunfights.
Sure enough. I'd heard a story told by an elderly woman. It didn't happen to her personally, but her good friend growing up was playing in her front yard, and these two really nice people, a man and a woman, pulled up and asked her for directions because they weren't familiar with the town, and she gave them directions to, I don't know, the bank or something, whatever it was they needed to go to. Come to find out, it was Bonnie and Clyde. I gave her a ride or something. If she gave them directions, they said they'd buy her ice cream, and that's all it took. So I guess they knew how to really work people.
You know, this was right in their pathways of all of their fighting and stuff. I mean, Billy the Kid, all sorts of them. And if you actually look up, I mean, it sounds like way old Western days, but when you actually look up the dates for these people, it was 1910, 1920s.
Yeah, really not that long ago comparatively when you consider how much happens in history.
Yeah.
And so maybe there's some of that residual energy down here.
Amarillo has a ton of history that a lot of people don't talk about. They don't want to talk about it. And, you know, and it's because it's not the greatest, but it is part of the history, and it's part of what made this town what it is.
Yeah.
You know.
It's an interesting town, and it's an interesting part of the world. Not everybody, it seems, is really cut out to want to live in this whole Texas Panhandle area. The weather's terrible. I mean, you're far away from interesting stuff. There's not much to look at. There's, you know, there's some canyons and stuff, but
Yeah.
but there's a lot of history despite all of that.
Yeah, we got the Nat next door, and the Nat started out as just strictly a public pool, and then it started having walls put up, and then had a floor put in, and had a dance hall put in there, and
Yeah.
some of the most famous people played there. All your big bands like Dorsey and Louis Armstrong and Lionel Richie, who got arrested over there.
Oh, wow.
Even Elvis Presley played over there before anybody knew about him. When he was traveling the country with his band trying to get known,
Wow.
he stopped in and jammed, had jam sessions, I think, with Louis Armstrong and maybe one or two others. But, you know,
Big
Tommy
names.
Dorsey was over there. There was some of the biggest name stars over there. And then there were some just local people that played. Actually, the floor over there opens up to the pool, and it was used, since it was the only one in the country to do this, it was used as a model for the 1930s It's a Wonderful Life scene where they open up and everybody falls in the pool at the dance floor. That was actually modeled after the Nat.
That
But
is
we've
interesting.
had so many famous people walk these streets. It's not funny, and still do to this day. We have several people who, when they come to town, they don't publicize it or anything. And most of us down here respect their privacy, and they come down here and we just leave them alone. They get to shop, and we have a blast. But yeah, because it is, I mean, Route 66 is still the main place everybody wants to come. We've got travelers from all over the world. And then we had the Nat, and then the other place that probably had an awful lot going on is Alley Cats, what the building is called Alley Cats now. It too is several buildings that were put together, but the main part of it originally was a saloon / general store.
That's
And
a great
it had rooms
combination.
upstairs for the girls, and still has the old Sunday stairs coming down the back.
Oh my goodness.
Now, the people over there nowadays will tell you it was a rooming house. There's a building down on Maryland Street. It's the second one off of 6, called Clay and Company Building. And it was actually the first rooming house over here. Back when it was an antique store and was just being fixed up and stuff, it's now a private home again. But I went up in there where the rooming house part of it was, and I know for a fact that there's still quite a bit of residual in there. It's not a place that
People
makes me
that-
very comfortable.
Yeah, because I think the history and stuff is really fascinating, and you know, people want to know about the story behind the story.
Yeah, and I like to do research. I'm obviously a history buff, as you can see. I surround myself with true antiques and truly vintage, which is 50 years old and older. Antiques are 100. And I do research, and I love historical research.
Yeah.
And it's fun, and
Yeah.
to find out a whole lot of different little facts and stupid stuff that other people don't know, and it's just fun.
Well, I sure appreciate you sharing and telling us a little bit about the story of the store. It's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
Now the
you.
balcony doesn't. That's where my father likes to stand. Is
Right up there on that balcony behind those pictures. Yeah. Huh.
Which, believe me, if he was alive, he would not want to be up there at all.
Didn't like heights.
No, he's 6'3".
There's pretty
That roof
shallow
is only
clearance.
6 foot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty short.
I think it's like 6 foot 1/2 inch, but anybody much larger than that has trouble being up there.
Yeah, I know some signs that say to look out, watch your head, and duck. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, thank you so much for sharing. And
No problem. No problem at all.
if anything else happens or you want to add something, let me know.
Yeah, or if the orbs start showing up again, I'll holler at you.
Yeah.
This is where my glasses go.
Speaking of Elvis, there's an Elvis album right over here.
Oh yeah, I got Elvis albums all over the store. That's the man.
Yeah.
I lost my glasses. This is I don't know how this will work for you, but when Zack and Aaron were here, I did ask if I could take a picture of them for my records, and at the same time the same time I took that, they were taking pictures of me.
Nice.
Aaron was the sweetest guy. He was funny as heck too. Zack, when he first came in, and I just looked at him and said, "I know who you are, so knock it off."
Just like you talk to the
spirits.
Right. Hey, if it works, it works.
Well, I talk to, it's just the way you talk to everybody. Spirits, you talk to them the same way as you talk to anyone else, because that's what they understand, and it's on a different realm, and you can't always hear them, and you can't always understand what they're trying to get across to you. I did have a lady in the other day who, when she was leaving, told me she talked to somebody in here, and I've never seen him or talked to him, so he must have been attracted just to her, because she writes what they tell her. And her hand was shaking like she wanted to write something, but I said, "Well, do you want me to give you something to write with?" And she said, "No." She said, "I don't want to." He told me I would see him when I came out the door, when I go out the door, that I'll see him. And she says, and I told him, "I don't want to. I don't want to do that." And I said, but she gave me his name. His name's Smythe. So I'm looking for something that belonged to him.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing, and I really appreciate it.
No problem, sweetheart. You have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. You too.